Hey, welcome to day 23 of 30 Days of Essential Oils. My name is Tammy Davis. I'm your mentor, guide, and neighborhood alchemist. I just like saying that, and I am an alchemist. I've been doing this for a very long time, almost actually over 30 years now. I have a background in pharmacology. I am internationally certified as a master clinical aromatherapist, extensive study and on the epigenome, plant constituents as they relate to human health, especially along the epigenome, and drug development. The reason for the glasses is because, well, I wanted to read the name of this because it's very difficult to pronounce. And chamaecyparis, I'll put the name in the description box. Chamaecyparis formosensis. Now, the cyparis should give you a hint as to what this is. It's a type of cypress. As a matter of fact, Benihi, which is the oil I'm talking about today, is not unlike the Hinoki that I talked about the other day. The Hinoki is the chamaecyparis obtusa, and this is the formosensis. And again, I will make sure that the chemical or the botanical name for this oil is in the description box for you, because it is important. Like I mentioned, I do like being an alchemist, but understanding the chemistry of these plants is really my forte, and that's the reason why I work with and teach people how to integrate oils with their medications. Somebody said to me the other day, if we didn't have medications, we wouldn't have to worry about that. And I go, well, you're right. You're absolutely right. But there's also something to keep in mind, and that is we're not the same species any longer. The organism has evolved over centuries, and so it's a different body altogether than what our ancestors were working with. And then, of course, with the introduction of technology such as medications, it's really affected the way we use these things. And so that's really what I'm sharing here. And so when I talk about these oils, it's really about introducing you to a different way of looking at them so that you can make better choices. And I don't mean that any disrespect by that. It's just that we're so used to looking at books and listening or looking up on websites and just saying, well, this is the recommendation, this is the property, this is what this is good for, but it may not be a fit for you. And there's a reason why some of these properties overlap. And the most important thing to remember is the synergistic effect of these constituents, because although they understand the action of a constituent in the human body, they cannot wrap their heads around what synergy really is. They're actually trying to replicate synergy, and it's not happening. Synergy happens. Synergy in our advantage occurs when the chemicals are used in their natural state. So if they're where they are the plant of origin, those constituents together have a very natural natural rhythm to them, is how I want to say that ultimately affects each system. So although I point out like this constituent affects this nitric oxide, it's important to remember that there's other things that nitric oxide synthase is affecting, and it depends on the symptoms. That's the most important part, because the breakdown of nitric oxide synthase process could lead to mental health concerns. It could lead to cardiovascular concerns. It could lead to digestive, issues. It could lead to respiratory issues, and it certainly leads to a lot of autoimmune issues. So, when we talk about a genetic complex like that, it's important to remember that how it's rolling out in your system depends on your unique wiring. And so this is the reason why I advocate for consultations, because in listening to that, I know people really want to learn and do this, and I thank you, because we need to be doing more of this, because this is where we're really going to get the best results by including oils and working with them in a way that works synergistically even with the medications, or more of a complement, not so synergistic, but more of a complement to the medications, if there are medications involved. And right now, last statistic I got out of the CDC was that there's over 65% of the US population is on at least one medication on an ongoing basis. So that's a lot of people to be on medication, and oils are an increasingly popular commodity. So I'm here to help with that. But in the case of Benihi, there's not a lot of, it is a cypress. It's actually a red cypress from Taiwan. Again, there's another one called Hinoki. It is also a type of cypress, but their constituents are very different. Oh my goodness, where are my notes? I can't even pronounce this one. Eudysimol. And then there's eudysimol, beta eudysimol, and then there's murolol. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to. These are not common constituents, and how to pronounce these, I could be slaughtering them for all I know, but these are the predominant constituents in this, and it makes Benihi actually a really exceptional oil for diabetes. More specifically, the fungus that builds up with blood sugar issues. Because the murolol is a significant antifungal, and it's one of the predominant constituents in there. Like I said, the eudysimol actually helps with muscle movement, and maybe that doesn't make any sense to you, but there's a relation to with diabetes and muscles stagnation and tension and so forth. It actually helps to block that, and the combination of the two is very beneficial for that particular health condition. And the interesting thing is that diabetes, no matter which type, it still involves the hormonal system and the immune system. The hormonal system in the sense that the pancreas is part of the hormonal system. Blood sugar issues are a direct indication that the body is super stressed. I realize we have a lot of people talking about, eating too many triglycerides, and because I do have a background in nutrition, and too many sugars and yada, yada, yada. But the fact is if we're not breaking down the triglycerides, it's a sign that the body is not assimilating fat. And that goes back to what I was talking about yesterday with regards to tangerine. So that's a hormonal challenge when we're not breaking down fats. And when we don't break down carbohydrates and glucose, more specifically, and protein, then that's an indication that the body is just not producing enough hydrochloric acid, and it's not able to break those macronutrients down small enough to be assimilated and used, which will cause hormonal disruption. And even further, without breaking down the fats, and we can't break down the sugars, and we can't break down the proteins, we're in for a hormonal shitstorm. That's the best way I know to describe that. And of course, that's what diabetes really is. Benihi is it's an oil that I've used with people who have actually had excessive amounts of fat tissue on their body and really struggling with blood sugar challenges and really carrying a lot of yeast in their body. But that said, you really want to be careful with this, because in fact you might want to actually blend it with tangerine, because it'll help move the fluids. These two oils together would be actually very exceptional way to blend, again depending on what's going on with you. Typically, I will say this much, there's a direct correlation between diabetes and depression, and it involves serotonin. So that means if you've already been diagnosed with diabetes, and you may or may not, but more than likely have been, or borderline depression at the very least, there's a direct serotonin link. In the tangerine video, I mentioned that it's very good for the neurochemistry, and not to blend it with antidepressants, specifically more SSRIs. If this is making sense to you, or you'd like to know more about it, I actually did there's a series of videos I did called Breaking the Cycle of Disease Management. I'm happy to share those with you. Just let me know if you would like copies of those. But it goes into stuff like that, the connection between it, how it's all related. I mean, depression is not separate from diabetes. There's a direct relation, and serotonin plays a heavy role in the way the pancreas is actually functioning. So again, tangerine and Benihi would be a really good combo. And that's pretty much how I've used it. It's not a very common oil, and but I do have it on hand because, again, we have people that from time to time are holding a lot more fat tissue than they're comfortable with, or that's healthy, and at the same time they also maybe have histamine issues and yeast issues, and at that point these two oils together would be a really golden tool. All right, so until tomorrow, you guys take care. Feel free to sign up for my newsletter, which you can find the link for that in the box below. Aromatherapy is a lifestyle. You can sign up for that. Request to join that. It's just a closed group, but it's just closed because it's private information. And again, if you'd like to hear or if you'd like to receive, each video from Breaking the Cycle of Disease Management is about at least an hour long. So if you'd like them, let me know, and I'd be happy to send them your way. If you actually sign up for my newsletter, you get one right away. So there you go. Anyway, thanks you guys. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow.